I'm excited to walk you through the latest enhancements in Nakisa Lease Accounting Suite 2024 R3, which was released in December 2024, and show you how these new features can help you streamline your lease accounting processes, improve control, and enhance reporting efficiencies. With every release, Nakisa focuses on delivering improvements that address user feedback, optimize workflows, and ensure compliance with evolving financial requirements. In this session, I'll be demonstrating key features from the latest update that will help you save time, increase flexibility, enhance control and governance, and improve reporting and visibility. We'll go through live demos of some of these enhancements. And towards the end, I'll be happy to take your questions to ensure you are fully equipped to leverage these updates in your daily operations. Before we dive in, let me ask you a question. What's the biggest challenge you face when you're managing your lease data and financial reporting today? Feel free to drop your answers in the chat, or you can unmute yourself, and we would love to hear from you. So with that, let's jump right in and explore what's new in Nakisa Lease Accounting Suite 2024 R3. My name is Ruchika Mogha. I'm CPA in Canada, and I'm a solution engineer at Nakisa for the last year and a half. So as you see on the screen, these are some of the features and improvements that we have that we brought out in our last release. And I'll be going through some of them in details. So first we have the user preference, CPI type change, copy functionality, lease component activation without terms, allowing partner change, journal vouchers, batch role segmentation, events post after RU end date, removing document posting dates restriction, in-app training, and net sales tax. Some of these features are going to have an impact on financial impact, and the other features are there introduced for your user experience enhancements. I also would like to bring attention to some of the names I'll be using in this demo session, where we have these user personas. For example, Tracy, who is a lease administrator, Amina, who's an accountant, Candice, the contract manager, Carla, the executive IT leader, and Simon, the system and IT administrator. Help us to understand how the different users are using our solution. So let's begin with user preferences. What this is that now we have introduced French and Spanish translations for NLA and FOSS, which will allow you to select also the specific date and number formatting settings for Nakisa Lease Accounting. So these are the two new user preferences that you can now manage at your pace. Why we have introduced this? To meet the demands of our global customer base, to align with varying standards used across the globe. So how is it used? So all of us user personas can access the user preferences via the user will open a Nakisa user auxiliary where user can define the desired language, date, and number formats. So I have given examples here, which is a UK format is date, month, and year. Singapore format would be year, month, and date. An example of a US format is month, date, and year. So based on which country you are in and what you're comfortable with, you can modify and change at any time your user preferences for the language and also for date. This is a non-financial feature that we have brought in just for your user experience, enhanced user experience. So this again is that if I have selected a Polish date and number formatting. The format will be something like this, which is the date, month, and year. And so is the example of here given to you for the dollar value. Now, the example here is for English Canada. If the format is being chosen, you will see the year, the month, and the date. Here is for the dollar value as well. I go on the UI to show you live. A user will be coming on the sign out icon, which is here, and you will select manage preferences. We'll be able to search the UI. The user can come on the sign out page where they'll have the manage preferences option, and they will be able to find their name. I will click on the pen icon, and I'll be easily uh, able to change the date, number, format, locale, or the language. Can be changed on the main page as well, and the format and the date can only be changed on the user preferences. So this was the user preference feature that is available now. Next is a CPI type switching. What is CPI type switching? This is the ability to alter the CPI input between local, global, and none when an activation group is already in an active status. So why would you like to use this feature? To correct errors for users that have made on the activation group that have already been activated. This gives you an opportunity to change that. So to meet customer requirements who may want to change CPI type due to their business needs, we have introduced this feature. How can we change this? And to keep in mind that this feature has a financial impact on the calculation, the reporting. So this must be kept in mind. Individual changes, the mean tracked, can be modified. So a user can go on the UI and manually run an event using index modification at the activation group, and they will be able to change from the CPI from local to global or none. Executed by doing mass modification, and the user will come on the AG accounting page once you download the Excel file to change the CPI switch. So to change the CPI indexation type. The calculation impact will be index payments will be calculated if there's a change in the current level of index, regardless of whether CPI type change has occurred. If you are switching from none, it will have no financial impact except it will assign a CPI index to the lease. The other way is switching to none. It will prevent additional index payments from being created while keeping in mind it will retain the existing payments from your prior events. So just to show you an example on the UI, if you want to change manually, you will be seeing that I have an active contract which has indexation on the AG in the definition in the accounting tab. And here it is set as none. User will be coming on the event at the activation, and they will be selecting indexation modification reason. And then they can decide if they want only on the lease terms that they want to apply in indexation, or if they want to apply it as well on the non-lease term. Upon doing so, the system will request you to provide what type of gap indexation treatment is required if you have a US gap, and you have the choice of selecting from the four options that's available. In this case, I've chosen complete default. You will also provide the lease indexation date, and therefore it will go and search the values if required. Then we will see in the draft that I created, I was able to change for the same activation group ID, the CPI local now, and I have selected 115. So this is how a user can then further run their schedules and merge it with the existing active version in order to change the CPI from none to a CPI local. Similarly, modifications can be made from none to CPI global and all the combinations between these three types of CPI types that we have available in our solution. Next, I'm showing you an example of how we will be running mass modification to change CPI from none to CPI local. Again, the combination can be in either way between CPI local, none, and global. In this example, when I ran the mass modification job, I have requested modification type for activation group, and then I assigned a name to it. And the next step is I want to apply to all the terms and conditions for this particular contract that I have selected. I will see once I download the Excel document to manage and change my modification. In this case, I am only changing on the activation group accounting tab where I have indexation selected as changing it to indexation lease type CPI. And then I assigned a index level for it. I'll be saving this and then I'll re-upload it on the UI. This example is also showing how a user was able to change CPI global and then using events on the UI, they changed it to CPI local. Example, there will be a change in the dollar value. So I'll show you an example of the payment term that was for this particular contract. So this contract had a CPI global of 136 index level, which I changed to 110. And what happened in that case? So the initial payment amount was 10,000, where the CPI was 136. And then there was a change in CPI because there was a decrease. The new CPI is lower, and therefore, based on the calculation, we see that in this screenshot here, we have an index negative lease payment, and we have a value of 8,088. So it can go in either direction. If there was an increase, then the 1,900 would have been an increase, and the new payment would have been 11,900 and change. That's how we can easily switch between the CPI index types. Then next we have the copy functionality. In this, what we have brought in is basically we are enabling the duplication of the master agreement, contract, lease component object in NLA. It is a feature which streamlines object setup, allowing you to replicate objects and reducing repetitive data entry and saving time, ensuring consistency. How is it used in NLA? So a user will identify an object to be copied, access the context menu, which is on the right corner of your screen always, where the user can select copy. And upon doing so, a dialog will pop up and require you to enter some fields in the new object. Keep in mind, at present, the object can only be copied within the same parent object, that is, master agreement or the contract. So showing you an example is master agreement. At the master agreement level, we can copy by selecting the three icons here. Same thing applies to contract and the lease component. So as mentioned, if you're going to copy a contract, it will remain under the same original master agreement where the initial contract was. Next, we have a lease component activation without terms. So Why we have introduced this? We have introduced this because it allows you to create a lease in Nakisa Financial Suite, which is fully paid up, and it requires only calculation of depreciation journal entries. So if you are, example, you've purchased a company and they have leases, and some of the leases have up, but it has left a couple of years of depreciation to be made for the asset. So you can use this feature now whereby you will not have any payments, journal entries, or interest journal entries. You will just have the entries for depreciation. Example here is that I have a lease where I can see that it is in an active status that I was able to create in the solution where it has no terms, but you have to make sure that it has a carryover balance, which is whereby you have the company asset, GBV, and the accumulated depreciation for it for both the standards if required. Allowing partner change. This is the next feature which has a financial impact, partially in the sense it will just change the account type, account number for the journal entries for payment. So this is a feature is available when you have the generate vendor invoice enabled and you would like to change the lessor or the vendor GL identification as well as the account number. So the lease component payment terms are subsequently updated by adding a new term using the new partner details, and that will adjust the payment allocation. So as I said, this allows payments posting to different GL accounts. You may have the original vendor and then multiple additional vendors, or you can completely replace. Why did we bring this feature? Is because of our leases for real estate. Sometimes the ownership changes, the lessor has sold the asset to a new party, and therefore we must change it in our solution as well. So we brought this feature so that it can match the reality. So as it says, Tracy wants to mirror the real world contractual changes in NLA as seamlessly as possible, ensure that the correct financial postings are made in Nakisa General Ledger and external ERP as well. So how we will do this is that we will first run a contract event and change or replace a partner. Then the second step would be to run a lease component event whereby you'll be adjusting the payment term inputs and creating new payment terms with the new partner as included in it or replaced. And last, if any postings were already made, the user will have to reverse those postings and then run an activation group event whereby toggling the likely to exercise and apply the changes to ensure that the payment postings are also updated, because that's what the key is. This is the whole reason why we have introduced this new feature. I go and look at the contract level. An example is where I'll see for this contract ending 717, I have a lessor in my partner page whereby it is a Canadian lessor. And it says now you have the same lessor from the start of the contract and you have the end of the contract, the same lessor. You see that we have these three icons, and this will change once I run an event on the contract, and I have the option to either add a new partner or simply replace an existing partner. In the next screenshot, you can see it's a draft that was created where I requested to replace this existing partner from Lessor Canada to Lessor. I have assigned the dates effective of. So the first contract, the original contract was with the Lessor Canada until 31st of May. And then we have the new contract starting on 1st of June until the So the user will once merge this with the existing version, then the next step would be to comment change and run an event at the lease component level as well as the activation group level by adding a new term and changing the partners. What will be the result is that this is an entry for payment with the original partner, that is the lessor Canada, and then you will see the posting date was 1st Jan. And once we have run the event at all the three levels, we'll be able to see that the next new payment journal as of July 1st, or it could also have been June 1st, that's where I have made the change, is that I have the entry for the payment after the partner change is now lessor GB. Option where we don't have directly a finance the calculation change of this feature, but yes, it will change the account type, account GL of the partner. Next, we have journal vouchers. This feature is has a financial impact, but not in the calculations. This one is now that a user can make an adjustment at the general ledger account if there is a transfer that's required, adjustment or a correction. And this is any contract or an activation. So it's not related to one contract. It's related to a general ledger, a GL account. That's why we are doing a change. Why do we need this? We need this to record any adjustments to accounts, which are probably realized when the user is doing a month end and they would like to rectify any error that was previously recorded. They can balances between the accounts in the same chart of accounts and company codes. So how is it done? The user will come to Nakisa General Ledger and create a journal voucher, providing all the relevant mandatory inputs in it and submit it for approval. So once you create it, it still needs to be approved by the manager. So it has to follow its workflow process like any other process we have in Nakisa. So we'll see that once the manager will review it and either approve it or have the choice to reject it, the journal voucher, once it's has been approved, you will see that it automatically is ready to be posted externally. So as I mentioned, the journal vouchers is going to be recorded on the SAP posting bot. In the GL module, it enables the users to create the journal entries if there's manual adjustments that need to be made, that need to go to your ERP system as well as Nakisa. So it just enables you to have an end-to-end subledger when you have this functionality available. So you don't have to do any additional manual adjustments in your general ledger outside of Nakisa. You are able to maintain all these adjustments and manual entries within one place. You also have the possibility to actually reverse the journal entries that you're creating now. So the user will come on the Nakisa General Ledger page. They will come on Journal Vouchers and they will click on the plus icon and create. So I'm going to enter the mandatory fields which are required. If your process is to enter additional information or other fields which are not mandatory, we suggest that you do so. You please complete them. I am going to select a vendor payment that I need to change, and I will select today's date. That's January 22nd, 2025. I've completed the main items here, and I'll go to the entries. I will look for the account I was looking to adjust, and I want to decrease the account by 1,000 for a particular cost center, which once I click on plus, I can actually enter the information here. I want to reduce the amount for this cost center by 10,000. It will show you in different currencies. I can duplicate this entry and then modify it further. I would like to have a debit on this account and then change the cost center to the Nakisa administration cost center. So now I've entered my the GL account and the cost center, which I need to modify within the same GL account. I'm changing the cost center. So next would be additional information. If a user have any additional information that is required as a backup for the reviewer to review before they actually approve it, they can attach a document right here, and they can also leave their notes. And the reviewer will have an option to view it, and they can click on action to save this, plus they can add attachment. So once they create this, we will see it is requesting central approval. And here the internal status now is showing me open on the definition page. And since we have a power user role for this demonstration, I will approve it, and you will be able to see that this is going to say posted and ready to be posted on the SAP. You can see it's processing, and I've sent it for approval. And then once the user will approve it, it automatically will come to the status that it is ready to be posted externally. This is our journal vouchers. Next, I would like to cover. So the journal vouchers will have a financial impact, technically just for changing the GL account cost center allocation. The rest is the same. Next, we have the batch role segmentation. Under the batch role segmentation, we have, with me. So, with regards to this enhancement, in the previous batch role was only assigned. There was only one batch role that was assigned. That would the accountant would be able to perform a mask workflow, mass indexation, modification, posting internal and external. So all this was combined into one batch role before, and now we have given the option for segregation of duties, more control. If the executive wants to enforce stricter control of procedures and limiting all the scope of mass activities to one individual. Now, this feature has given the option to bring the segregation of duties to a level up, whereby every single mass modification job can be split between the different users in the team. So how is it used? As I said, the overall process of role assignment via the SSO remains unchanged, but the administrator can utilize the new role, more granular roles to fulfill specific requirements from the executive. So the old role with all the options is still available, and the new option of having split roles for mass modification is also available. So you can pick and choose if you have a company where you require one user to have all the roles for mass. So now the next feature we have is event after ROU end date, and posting and document date can be modified as well. So let's look at the first one, which is modification date after the ROU end date. This option is given since we have sometimes situations whereby the negotiation will only happen a bit later. It's common that the user may want to extend the lease term at the end of the ROU. So adjusting the modification date logic now will allow the accountant Amina to execute such modifications. So what will happen is that if all the postings are made for a lease, now in NLA, Amina will be allowed to select a modification later off, which is the last payment date or the ROU end date plus 1 day. She'll be able to actually do an extension or run an event. So an example here I've shown you is that for this lease, I have an active lease where all the postings have been made, but the termination has not been posted yet, and the lease is not closed or at a lease end status. What you can do now is that you can actually extend this contract. So I have run an event where I have added an additional term. So as we look at the schedules, they are for the first year was for ending December 31st, 2024. I have run a lease event whereby I added a term for extension. On lease component, we don't have any financial impact. So then now I will have to run an event on the activation group and I have to extend it. So let's see if the system allows me now, as I mentioned, to run an event the day after, that is the 1st of January 2025. So give me a minute. I will open the UI. And we will see if we'll be able to run the extension after the ROU end date. So what I was showing you again, it's the same schedule. It's basically the schedule for the year 2024, whereby all the postings have been made. And I have a lease component where I have now this is an active lease component where I added a new term. At the activation group, now I would like to run an event to have my extension or the modification date as January 1st, 2025. So you see now this option is not grayed out. It's available for me to run a modification event on the next day after the lease is ended. And I would like to reassess my terms now. I do not want to update my contract IBR. I'll submit. And I will now be able to come on my terms and conditions and toggle it of the extra 1 year that I have added. And before that, like any other extension we run, we will come and select the ROU end date, which is in this case December 31st, 2025. And my term is from Jan 1st, 25 to December 31st, 2025. I'll select it and I'll be able to run my schedules. So up until now, you did not have the option to run an extension whereby all the capitalization entries were getting triggered on the last month of the first lease term. Now you have the option that as the lease term gets over, either you can do on the last payment date or you have the option of capitalizing, recording your journal entries for capitalization of asset and liability the day after the term has ended. So in this case was January 1st, 2025. So this was an example of running an event after the ROU end date. So I'll go back on my presentation. I'll just reverse and come back to the posting and document date. So now we have removed the restriction of posting and document date. Why do we do so? Is that every lease is different and all the customer have different requirements. Now we are giving you a greater flexibility for the posting and document date selection, which will allow the accountant to ability to run the posting as and when required. So an example here would be, let me give you an example here. So in this case, the term was the posting, the depreciation journal was supposed to be posted on December 2020. But now, if the period was closed, if they needs to run the entry on January 2021, initially you were not allowed. But now you can see on the screenshot on the right that you will be able to post an entry later on in the months and year. So what the financial impact change is that it will gonna have the entries will not appear. That's the only change would be because the entry is gonna just have a different posting date. The calculation itself is not changing. So if I go back and show you, you will just see that on the CTR report and the GL balance report, that's where you'll see the impact. That is, if you post an entry for 2020 in 2025, it will only appear in the CTA report in 2025 if you select the dates accordingly. So it will not be visible if you're running a CTA report for the year 2020. If you include 2020 up into 2025, it's only when it will be available in the report. So that was an example of the removing of posting and document date restriction. Next, we have enhanced and brought in capability for tax calculation for our disconnected customers. And this has obviously financial impact. Next is filtering the capability for pertinent terms and conditions if the user would like to see on the UI. And third is we have introduced our self-help, which is a step-by-step guide. So the first one has financial implications, and the next two is the user experience. So let's go by taxes. So taxes is going to be calculated for you if you have a requirement for that to be included in your payments. And an example for that is tax calculation for disconnected customers first needs to be included in our financial organization structure, our manager page, where you will be entering all the information required. So it requires your country, your details about the tax jurisdiction, what rate it may be, if there's an exemption. And once all this information is linked to your company, then when you are doing looking at your payment journal, you'll be able to see that the calculation is being appearing now on the UI and will be posted as well to the correct GL account with the correct calculations. So this is that for the tax option. Next, I have is for your user experience. We have brought in the terms and conditions that can be toggled based on what you would like to see. So I will show you. We have the option of having active, inactive, and historical. So we have clients who have multiple lease modifications. An example here is an indexation that the client has indexation that runs every month. So now you have the option on the terms and condition on the activation group that if you want to see all the terms or all the different versions that was included, or if you want to just see the terms that are active and that applies, and the user has a clean view. So this is the user experience feature that we have. So next and last item I'd like to show you is the self-help. This will enable our customers to go through the self-help step by step and will bring you most value for products. So if you need help of how to use, you can come on the main page. I'll show you right here. We have the icon clicking here, self-help. It will take you step by step on how to run a particular topic that you would like to understand. You can search it up and it will navigate you with you to find the location and steps to take in order to run that process. So benefits of our summary. So As we wrap up our today's demo, I would like to thank you for your time and emphasize how the latest enhancements in Nakisa Lease Accounting Suite 2024 R3 are designed to improve your efficiency, as you have seen, the control, giving you a flexibility in the lease accounting operations. So, time saving, the copy functionalities. Now you can copy a master agreement, contract, lease component. As you saw, it will eliminate your redundant work significantly and speeding up your lease management processes. You can run your test in your QA or your pre-prod environments, and you can copy your lease components to run scenarios. You also have stronger governance and control, whereby now you have a new role that you can have security enhancement for batch management and mass operations if you want to split it among your team members or you want to leave it as is, as well as we have the new partner management where you can change the vendors and it provides you better access and control of ensuring compliance and your internal policies. Next benefit, as we saw together, was the user can now filter the terms and conditions between the active, inactive, and historical terms on the activation group, making it easier to find the relevant information for the user. And you also have the ability now to select the posting and the document date outside our range date if required, with a little bit keeping in mind the reporting will be based on your posting dates. And then next we have, as you saw, the user can have the option now to change CPI type and mass or for a particular contract, allowing you to adapt to the changes in the economic conditions more effectively. You also saw together that we have enhanced financial accuracy, whereby if you had to make any modification adjustments within Nakisa, you can use the manual journal vouchers. We also have the modification logic that has improved, and we have the schedules that are more precise and in accounting and reporting, including your migrated schedules. Better reporting and visibility. Users can now filter profiles. It's basically something where you can retrieve frequently used filters across the reports and dashboards. You can save those filters and come back and reuse them instead of recreating your filters. And last but not least, we have seamless configuration and compliance, improvement in our tax determination, in the financial org structure that you must do to accurately calculate your values for the taxes, even if you are on a standalone environment. That is a disconnected. So these updates provide users with great efficiency, better financial control, and more flexibility in managing the lease portfolios. So I really appreciate your time today, and I encourage you to explore these features further to maximize the value of Nakisa Lease Accounting Suite. If you have any questions or need deeper insights, feel free to reach out to me. Thank you very much and have a nice day. Thank you.